Hello, thank you so much. Let me share mine too. Let's go. It was, by the way, thank you so much for Farah and Lakuta for the presentations. They were amazing. I hope you can see it clearly. I'm not going to challenge my articles that Lakuta and Farah did. I'm going to share something that what I understood from my articles. And to start with, we will start the Article 15, transparency, and just 1 second. Let's remove this one here. Okay, the transparency and cooperation. Transparency and cooperations are the bedrock of Article 15. This article ensures that all the activities on the moon align with the agreement's provisions. It grants each state party the right to inspect and ensure the compatibility of the activities conducted by other state parties. This is crucial for maintaining safety and mutual trust, to be honest. State parties must give reasonable advance notice of visits to lunar facilities and allow open access for inspections. This ensures that there is no interference with normal operations and maximum safety precautions are taken. Moreover, Article 15 establishes mechanism for resolving disputes through the consultations, emphasizing diplomacy and mutual respect. If issues arise, state parties can seek assistance from the United Secretary General, ensuring transparency and accountability in resolving conflicts. If we move to Article 16, is the extension to international organizations. This is a significant step as it reflects to the collaborative nature of modern space exploration. And these organizations must be declared their acceptance of the agreements, rights, and obligations, provided a majority of their member states are also parties to the agreement. This extension promotes global cooperation and collective responsibility in lunar activities. It ensures that international organizations engaged in the space exploration adhere to the same principle and obligations as individual states, fostering a unified approach to the peaceful use of outer space. Okay, and Article 17, amendment of the adaptability. Flexibility and adaptability are the heart of the Article 17. This article allows state parties to propose amendment to Moon Agreement. This amendment must be accepted by a majority of state parties to become effective. And this provision ensures that the agreement remains relevant and responsive to technological advancement and evolve in time.
Jangan di laptop toh. Turun. Turun.
It's somebody needs to mute their thingy, I think. Yeah. Okay. And where I was, okay. The ability to amend the agreement is vital for the maintaining its relevance over time as our capabilities in space exploration evolve. So to master legal frameworks to govern these activities as well. And Article 17 ensures that the Moon Agreement can adopt the new challenges and opportunities, promoting sustainable and responsible exploration. Article 18, review and evaluation. Article 18 mandates periodic reviews of the Moon Agreement's implementation. 10 years after the agreement enters into force, a review is conducted to assess its application and effectiveness. This process allows state parties to evaluate achievements, identify challenges, and propose improvements. Periodic reviews are essential for ensuring the agreement's long-term success. They provide opportunities to reflect on past experiences, address emerging issues, and incorporate new technological developments. However, I would like to state that this review and evaluation, Article 18, it's never happened after even so many decades has passed. And there was so many enforcements as well, but they never had a chance to do the reviewing session. Article 19. signature, ratification, and entry into force. Article 19 outlines the procedural aspects of the Moon Agreement, emphasizing inclusivity and universal participation. The agreement was open for signature at the United Nations headquarters in New York and is open for accession at any time. Instruments for ratification or accessions are deposited with the United Secretariat General. The agreement enters into force on the 13th day of following the deposit of the fifth instrument of ratification for each state depositing its instrument after the agreement's entry into force. It becomes effective 30 days following the date of deposit. This structure approach to encourage widespread participation and adherence to the principle governing the peaceful use of outer space. I would like to again add something on this article because it was stating that it's the fifth person, the instrument has to be ratified, then they can put in force all the Moon Agreement onto the members. However, indeed, the Moon Agreement adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1979, and it was open for the signature immediately after adoption. However, it took 5 years to find the last fifth country to ratify the agreement. And thanks, it was the Austria who ratified the Moon Agreement and make it possible to put in force and the agreement. Article 20, third, withdrawal and sovereignty is after more or less is sensitive issue of the withdrawal from the Moon Agreement is acknowledged the sovereign rights of state parties while emphasizing the importance of continuous and stable in international cooperation. A state party may withdraw from the agreement 1 year after its entry into force by providing written notification to the UN Secretary General. The withdrawal takes effect 1 year after the notifications received. This provision ensures that the withdrawal decisions are made with the careful consideration of broader international obligations and responsibilities. It balances the rights of individual states with the need for ongoing collaboration and stability in space activities. Like Lakota quoted before, Saudi Arabia was the first country has been withdrawn from the space treaty. Any related space treaty, and it was the first member who withdrew from the Moon Agreement. They, in 2023 January, they notified the United Nations Secretary General in New York about their withdrawal, and in 2024 officially they've been removed from the agreement. And the last one, Article 21, depository and authentic text. Finally, Article 21 designates the United Nations Secretary General as a depository of the Moon Agreement. The Secretary General ensures that the authenticity and accessibility of the agreements text in multiple languages like Arabic, Chinese, and English, French, Russian, and Spanish. This provision underscores our commitments to transparency and accountability in the governance of lunar activities. It ensures that all state parties have access to the authentic text of the agreement, facilitating clear communication and understanding of the principle guiding our action in space. To conclude my articles, Article 15 to 21 of the Moon Agreement form a comprehensive framework for peaceful and sustainable exploration of the Moon and other celestial bodies. As we navigate the challenges and opportunities of the space age, let us uphold these principles with diligence and foresight. Together, we can ensure that our endeavors in space serves interest of all humankind, both present and future, by fostering cooperation, transparency, adaptability, and we pave the way to a future where the space exploration continuously peace, progress, and prosperity for all. Thank you so much for your attention, commitment to the peaceful exploration and use of outer space. Thank you, future space leaders. And I'm handing over to the Shaida. Thank you.